Good evening. This is a meeting of the Athens Board of Zoning Appeals. The time is 5 after 7 and the date is May 14, 2013. And at this time I'll call the meeting to order. The board consists of 5 members and 2 alternates, the alternates taking full part in the discussions and becoming voting members in the absence of a member or when a member abstains for conflict of interest. Tonight the members are Greg Lavelle, John Galsey, Joan Kranaski, and Lisa Carson, and I am Betty Hollow, the acting chair. Also present are Zoning Administrator John Paskey and Secretary Paul Eschenbacher. The board operates under the following procedure. The chair will describe and name the case. The zoning administrator will state the basis of the objection and any applicable facts or conditions pertaining to the case. The appellant or a representative will give reason why the appeal should be viewed favorably. Anyone wishing to speak in favor of the request will be heard, anyone wishing to speak in general comment will be heard, and anyone wishing to speak in opposition will be heard. If necessary, the appellant or representative will offer concluding summary or rebuttal remarks. Testimony from the floor will then be closed. The board will deliberate and render a decision. According to Athens City Code Section 230703B, the board has the power to grant variances from the strict application of the code, provided the variance will not be contrary to the public interest, the spirit of the code is observed, public safety and welfare are secured, and substantial justice is done. According to City Code 230910C, variances from the code shall not be granted unless the board finds, based on direct specific findings of fact, that each of the following conditions has been supported. The first is practical difficulty or undue hardship. Because of exceptional or extraordinary circumstances or conditions pertaining to the specific piece of property, a literal enforcement of the regulations would result in practical difficulty or undue hardship that is unnecessary to the achievement of public purposes. The second condition is exceptional circumstances. They are exceptional or extraordinary circumstances or conditions applying to the property in question or to the intended use of the property that do not apply generally to other properties or classes or uses in the same zone. Preservation of equal property rights. Literal interpretation of these regulations would deprive the appellant of rights commonly enjoyed by others in the same zone and the same vicinity, while a granting of the requested variance will not confer on the applicant any special privilege that's denied to other properties in the same zone and the same vicinity. Minimum variance. The variance granted is the minimum variance required to make possible the reasonable use of the property. Absence of detriment. The authorizing of such variance will not be of substantial detriment to adjacent property and will not materially impair the purpose of the zoning code or the public interest. The last one is not of a general nature. The condition or situation of the specific piece of property or the intended use of said property for which the variance is sought, one or the other or in combination, is not of so general or recurrent a nature as to make reasonably practicable the formulation of a general regulation for such condition or situation. Any person, resident, or officer, department, or appointed body of the City of Athens aggrieved by a decision of the board may petition the Athens County Court of Common Pleas concerning the illegality of the decision. Such petitions must be filed within 30 days after the mailing of the decision of the board to the applicant. There are only 2 cases tonight. Case number 1304V. The applicant is Taylin Phillips. The property is at 97 South May Avenue. The second case is 1305V at 22 Maplewood Drive. The appellant, Dennis and Pam Boger. So, in the first case tonight, as far as I know, the appellant is not here. Is someone here to speak for the appellant? Okay. Would you come? Well, hold on. I spoke too soon. First, we're going to get Mr. Eschenbacher or Mr. Peskin. Yes, thank you very much. We need to have anyone who wishes to speak tonight stand and affirm that they are being questioned under oath. So anyone wishing to speak would please stand. Mr. Boger?
I'm speaking.
Okay. Do you swear or affirm that any testimony you will present to the board will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Okay, thank you. So we'll let the code office speak a bit about this situation tonight, and then we'll hear what you have to tell us about it.
Okay. The first case is at 97 South May, and this is a variance for a floodplain, flood hazard variance, what the request is. The way our code is written is substantial improvement is any improvement on a structure that's greater than 50% of the county auditor's appraised value of the building only. If it's greater than that, then the building is supposed to come into compliance with the current flood regulations. If it's greater than 50%. In this instance, the building was appraised at the county auditor's side at approximately $122,000, and I determined through their quotes and estimates that the improvement part of the construction that they want to do on this residence is greater than 50%. So therefore, they do need to request a variance for flood hazard regulations. You have in front of you at 25.05.04 of the Athens City Code, you'll see in what's C1 through 11 is the items to discuss, and then you can do the findings, which are the variance shall only be issued upon findings 1 through 5.
Okay.
I think the best thing to do from that point is let Matt discuss exactly what their plans are on the structure, and we'll go from there.
Okay.
So.
Will you tell us your name and address?
Sure. My name is Matthew Cook. I'm representing Daniel and Lynn Phillips. I live at 85 South May Avenue in Athens. I was hired as their builder. I came in after several discussions that had already taken place, I believe between the Phillips and the code office, and as well with their architect who designed the project. Because the Phillips are out of the country due to Daniel's mother's illness, they asked me if I would come and speak on their behalf. So based on what John and I have discussed, my understanding is that the component of the project that is considered improvement would be on the rear of the house. There is an addition going onto the house. It actually does not alter the footprint of the house. It sits within the footprint of the existing porch, but the porch is decrepit, and what they're attempting to do is, with the addition in particular, is remedy some design issues that the house has had in the past. The house is old enough to not have had an indoor kitchen or bathroom when it was constructed. Those were both added to the back of the house, and the bathroom on the downstairs floor was put into what used to be the dining room. There are just a lot of configuration issues. I imagine at least some of you are familiar with the house. The house, in my opinion, having built elsewhere, may have been condemned elsewhere. I consider it as a carpenter just to be absolutely unlivable. And so there are a lot of actual repairs going on in the house as well. I had talked through those issues with John, and he had given me permission to do some of those while I was waiting for this meeting, just because the Phillips also have a fairly significant deadline. We have to get the house livable this summer, basically, in order for them to move into it. And so there are all sorts of issues. I think you also have some photos
We do.
with the narrative.
Yes.
There are many more available. Currently what we're doing is replacing just lots and lots of rot at the base of the house. That's what we're doing as kind of the initial repair right now. I guess I can answer any questions, but or if you want more information about something
Well, we'll
specific.
see what people want to ask. We do have a description from them about what they're intending to do. And as you say, we do have a lot of photographs of
Right.
the damage to the house.
Sure.
And this house is in my neighborhood, and so I drive by there all the time, but I had no idea that it was in quite such a decrepit state.
I actually live 3 houses away,
Right.
and when I heard from Melissa that the house was going to be for sale, I went in before it was even up for sale, and having lived near it for 10 years, I had no idea. But among other things, I think there were probably maybe 200 bats living in it with them, and all sorts of things that are actually dangerous. I don't know, sorry, I don't mean to interrupt myself, but they also had a petition filled out. Do I bring that to you now, or?
Sure, we have not seen the petition, so you might bring that.
They went around and talked to the
Okay,
neighbors
sure.
closest to them. I made copies for everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
If someone needs an original copy for records or anything, is that?
Mr. Eschenbacher, you can give
Okay.
it to me.
Thanks. It's the original.
I think the important question asked that I need to ask Matt, and I think that to clarify right here is there is the intention to fill the basement and relocate the mechanicals out of the basement and then put the flood vents in what would be the crawl space wall. Is that correct?
Right, right. So I guess two things that the Phillips wanted me to make sure I mentioned. One being that they did investigate the possibility of actually lifting the whole house so that it would be out of the floodplain. For
Right.
various reasons, that was deemed, it's not 100% impossible. It's completely cost prohibitive, I guess
Sure.
is the best way to say it, because of the nature of the house, the age of the house, the way it was built, the type of foundation it has, various reasons. As the builder, I'm not even allowed to perform the lifting of the house until vast soil testing and engineering plans have been drawn up. So before I even do any work, they're spending a lot of money just to prepare. So their intent was to try to meet all of the requirements for the floodplain that they could.
Sure.
The three things that we've discussed that they wanted me to make sure I addressed with you folks is, one, they're going to fill the basement in with gravel to make it a crawl space. That is a FEMA requirement. Also, they're going to add the proper number of flood vents to the foundation so that it actually operates properly. And the third thing is that they are moving all of the mechanicals that are currently in the basement, the furnace, the hot water heater, the electrical panel, to above floodplain. So we're going to build a mechanical room on the first floor that actually is 2 feet above the floor so that everything is out of the floodplain. The house is being completely rewired, so all of the new outlets and everything will be out of the floodplain as well. The other thing they wanted me to address, and I don't always know exactly when I should say what I should say, but they wanted to talk about the fact that part of the limitation on their ability to do the improvements that they want to do is due to the fact that the house has been poorly maintained for 50 years or something prior to. So the appraisal value is not really appropriate to the neighborhood or to the size of house. It's just the fact that that house is almost literally falling down.
Yes.
That has caused it to not appraise well enough for them to do the addition. So,
Well, I assume that the only other option, apart from repairing it and improving it, would be to raise it.
to raise it or to raise it, to knock it down and do it over. But
yes, okay.
it's actually a very well built house, and for its amount of neglect, it's actually in quite nice condition. Once you get to the bones of the house, the only rot really anywhere is just at the base around the foundation. But from there to the rooftop, it's a very nice house. It also, because they were neighbors, I had a lot of opportunity to just talk about the house with the previous owners, and they have all sorts of photos of this house from the early 1860s, and it was actually a farmhouse located in the neighborhood prior to the Hudsons being there.
I thought the house was built in 1910.
No, it's much older than that. It was turned into a Victorian house somewhere around the time that the 80s house and the Agnone's house were built. But there's actually a small house behind it that is my understanding. There are photos of that house, and it was a carriage house. It's a small white house set back from South Shannon. quite a ways next door to a newer gray house. And my understanding is that that was the original carriage house that belonged to 97 South May. So I think what part of their goal was to keep the character of the house. And
Sure.
the vast majority of the renovations we're doing actually stay
Right.
in keeping. Their goal is to match the existing siding and repair the
Right.
siding that's there. So it'll have the class and character of the house as it is right now.
Well, I suppose it could have been a farmhouse, but that part of Athens was not developed until after 1900. So I guess it was the
I-
country, so maybe they.
And I certainly don't know the dates of the photos. I didn't.
Right.
I don't
Sure.
have any way of
It's
verifying any
old.
of that. But
we know
I've-
it's old.
Well, and the photos show it as the only house present.
Yeah. So maybe it was
So-
just a farmhouse in the country.
That was my understanding.
Yeah, that
so.
was the country at the time. Okay, questions?
If you're going to fix the route around the foundation you mentioned, do you still have to jack the house a little bit, or?
We're actually more or less holding one wall at a time in place,
Okay.
but it's nothing like lifting up a house.
And you also mentioned that it's going to cost a lot of money for raising the house.
Right.
Is that what $30,000 is? Is that so?
That is a loose estimate, but it's not a dollars and cents number,
But raising the house for 2 feet would be $30,000.
approximately, give or take. So by the time they discuss with the soils folks and the engineers, and then actually bring in the equipment to properly raise that house, because of the way it's built,
Right.
it's not an easy house to raise. So
Well, one further question, you say the electrical box and the rest of the mechanics will be in a room 2 feet above the ground floor.
right, right.
So does that mean that the ground floor is actually still 2 feet below?
It's somewhere between a foot and 18 inches.
Right.
John might know the exact measurement, but yes.
If he's going 2 foot above, that means the current floor level would be approximately at the base flood elevation now, but the requirement is that you're 1 foot above the base flood elevation. So by putting the 2 foot above, then, he's covering, let me see, 1 foot. So that means the floor is currently 1 foot below the base flood elevation.
Right.
I think that's what it was when we did the survey on it.
Right.
And my other question is, just because I don't really know what this is, or, well, I can read it, but when you talk about putting flood vents in the basement, is that so if the water comes in, then the water goes out?
Right.
Basically.
Yeah, stabilization of pressure is what the FEMA code requires. You have to have 1 square inch per 1 square foot of crawl space is the requirement. And you try to balance it so you have an equal amount of vents on each side of the home so that the water can just kind of
Pass
basically
through.
pass through and relieve
Okay.
all hydrostatic pressure.
The way those are designed, there's actually a door in there that has a foam backer, and if the crawl space were to fill up with water, the door floats away and allows the water to come out.
Wow, it's very
Si-
ingenious.
Since you can't raise the house and you may have high ceilings, can you bring the floor up a little bit? I know you can't bring them 2 feet, but maybe a foot, maybe 6 inches, so to make it the minimal variance in terms of the height. Just bring the floor up, not just the house.
It would be very difficult to do so. I wouldn't say it's impossible, and I haven't given an estimate to them for doing that. But part of the issue is that between the repairs and the improvements, there are certain financial constraints that I'm not exactly privy to. But just adding the gravel to the basement, removing and moving all the mechanicals, fixing the existing rot, adding the flood vents, they're probably, having not added it all up entirely, at $15,000 to $20,000 over the estimate I gave them already, just in terms of doing the things that they thought they could do to come partially there. They would have to do all of those things anyway if they raise the house, so it's an additional.
Well, you're going to have a new floor anyway, right?
No, actually, the wood floors are
Oh,
in
you're
great
gonna keep
shape.
them.
They had
Okay.
carpet on them, and it's about the only thing we're keeping.
Oh, okay.
They're actually pretty fantastic. So
Okay.
we're going to refinish and keep all of the floors if we can.
So can you tell whether the house has ever been flooded in the past?
There is definitely evidence of rot, and there's definitely evidence of previous termites, but there's no indicator to me of visible water damage. Where the rot is located is the most logical place for the rot to be anyway, meaning it's where the framing comes in contact with masonry. Over 160 years, I guess I wouldn't be surprised.
Right.
We did a house, we lifted up a house in Amesville last summer and actually did put a basement under it. And that house was approximately the same age. And that house had the exact same rot patterns that this one does. The wood's old enough that if there were watermarks on it or something like that that I could have seen, those are not visible to me at this point. So I can't say it has not flooded.
Right. Well, we do know that those streets, May and Shannon, have flooded in the past, but it's been a long time.
My understanding from the 80s who lived next door is that, and this is before my time in Athens, the last major flood that came through that neighborhood did not reach the 80s house. They were able to confirm that, and this is the neighbor. So
Well, there was a big flood. I think the last big one was maybe 64,
69.
68, something like that. And then they moved the river, and it hasn't been that big a problem since then.
But it is still in a floodplain,
Yes, I understand
so
that. Yeah.
based on the
Sure.
maps. So it shows that it has flooded before.
Yes, it has. More questions that you need to ask? Okay. Well, thank you. If
Sure.
we need to ask you more things, we'll call you up to do that.
okay.
Any other comments from the office? Okay. Anyone who wishes to speak in favor of this variance?
Nobody here.
Anybody
You
who
might wanna
wishes to speak
mention the-
against it?
You may want to mention the petition in favor.
Oh, yes, we do. There are some people who are speaking in favor of it. We have a petition with 14 names on it, people who live primarily right there on May Avenue and are neighbors. So the immediate neighbors, I suppose, would be happy to have the house repaired. Okay. And it is an interesting looking house, and it is an old house, so, okay. Anything else you all want to tell us before we close the floor then? Okay.
I just have a comment on the wording of the variance, the proposal here, and just so we won't have any legal issues in the
Okay.
future. It says where such improvements are not allowed. They're actually allowed if you follow A, B, C, D, E. So we probably should say in here specifically what they want to get a variance from, because otherwise we can't say such improvements are not allowed.
Well, we often do.
Well,
We
it
often
is
do it
allowed,
just as
it
it
is
is.
allowed if you follow A, B, C, D, they wouldn't even be here.
Well, it's not
Yeah.
allowed, and therefore they need a variance to be allowed. So I think you can read it just as it is, because we do that regularly. We often have something which we say is not allowed, and then we discover.
Well,
situations
usually it
where
says,
it
it should be, it is 5 feet or it should be 20 feet.
Right, but in some cases it says it's not allowed.
Well, okay, I just
In
want
this
to
case,
mention.
you can say that the variance is to allow substantial improvement greater than 50%
Sure.
of what the code
Okay.
does allow.
Okay.
So
So do you want to make that motion?
No.
greater than 50% of the county auditor's appraised value. I
Right.
probably need to state it that way.
What I'm saying, is substantial improvements are allowed.
Yes. But not
Substantial
beyond-
If you
improvements are
follow
allowed up to
ABCD.
50% of the
Not
county
beyond
auditor's
50%.
appraised value
Yeah.
Okay.
over a 5-year period. That's the other part of this,
Yeah.
too. So every 5 years. So if they come in next year for another permit for 20,000, they'll have to come back or whatever, because we have to chart. Let's say you're allowed to do, let's say a building's 200,000, and you want to do 20,000 one year, and then you come in and do 30,000 the
Right.
next year, and then 60,000 the next year. You've just exceeded that 50% value in a 5-year period. Therefore, it triggers requiring to have a variance. Now, every 5 years, if you start here and then year 6, you can go and add something, but that first year is off the books. So,
All right, we do need a motion from someone.
Can't make it if someone will guide me through it.
Okay.
I'm not really quite sure how our wording's going here. I move that the board consider case number 1304 V 97 South May Avenue, where the appellant is requesting a variance from ACC 250404 A, B, C, and D to allow improvements of over 50% of value to a structure located in the floodplain where such improvements are not allowed.
It's
To
fine.
be greater than 50%.
Yeah, okay. Second?
Substantial improvements. Say the word substantial improvement.
Oh, do you want, because it says improvements rather than
Substantial
repair, but
improvements.
improvements,
Substantial improvement is defined in our code book.
Okay.
to allow substantial improvements.
So we're not even really talking about all those ordinary repairs, right?
The ordinary repairs is maintenance. We're not
Okay.
talking that.
All right. So we're talking about the
Improvements.
downstairs and
The
upstairs
addition.
additions. Sure,
Yeah.
okay. Second for this motion.
I second.
Okay, thank you. We don't go through the findings that I so laboriously read at the beginning of the meeting, at least for this case. We're looking at 25054, and the things that we need to discuss have to do with slightly different things. So we need to think about whether there is a danger that materials may be swept away onto other lands to the injury of others, whether there's a danger to life and property.
I think you probably want to discuss each one of them one at a
Okay,
time and maybe
all
make
right,
a note.
before they
and
forget, okay.
Discuss each one of the 11 items and then go to the 5 findings.
All righty. Okay, so are you worried that materials will be swept away onto other lands and injure others?
No.
No.
If they anchor the house, no. That's a part of it. One of the things need to be.
What about danger to life and property due to flooding or erosion damage?
Well, I doubt if there would be danger to life, and they seem to be taking as much care as possible to avoid property damage.
Well,
Danger.
and certainly the things that might most likely cause damage would be some electrical thing that happened during the flood that electrocuted you, and I think they're taking care of that
Correct.
for sure. The susceptibility of the proposed facility and its contents to flood damage and the effect of such damage on the individual owner.
No, they're moving all this stuff up a floodplain.
Okay. It does say its contents. What about its contents?
It's possible.
Okay. I do think that that they have considered and worked with people from FEMA who require such things. And so I think that if some huge flood came along, they understand their susceptibility to some possible damage to the property and the contents. Here are two things I'm going to read. They're not really applicable. The importance of the services provided by the proposed facility to the community, and this is simply a residence, so that doesn't really apply. Number 5 is the availability of alternative locations for the proposed use that are not subject to flooding. Well, the house is where it is, so they're not proposing another location. Here's number 6, and it's also not applicable in this situation. It says the necessity to the facility of a waterfront location where applicable, and it's not on the waterfront, nor does it need one, although it is close to the river. 7 is the compatibility of the proposed use with existing and anticipated development.
It's compatible with the existing neighborhood.
Exactly. It's a residence in a residential neighborhood. Number 8, the relationship of the proposed use to the comprehensive plan and floodplain management program for the area. Do you want to speak to that at all?
Well, it meets the comprehensive plan because it is a residential district.
Okay.
But in regards to the floodplain management program for that area, no, it will not meet it because I think in long terms, FEMA technically would like to see all these houses either elevated above or removed. So that's what the variance is for, though.
All
Is
right.
FEMA going to review our findings? Because I read somewhere they do.
They will, They're, as you read through, they'll be given the information. The homeowners will be required to pay flood insurance, no matter
Okay.
what happens here.
Well, I
So,
assume that most people
Yeah.
on those streets
So-
pay flood insurance because most of the other properties are in the same situation,
Yeah.
maybe not to quite the same degree, but they are also in the floodplain, so, okay. Number 9, the safety of access to the property in times of flood for ordinary and emergency vehicles.
There's always a canoe.
And they have been used in the past and on those streets, but not for the last 40 years, really. And you can get there by canoe, and there is a street, and it's not on a hill, so it should be okay.
Red Cross right across the street.
Red Cross right across the street. Do they have canoes? I don't know. Whatever.
Somewhere out of delivery.
Our department does.
Good. Okay. Here is the last of the things to discuss, but also it's one that is not applicable in this situation. The cost of providing governmental services during and after flood conditions, including maintenance and repair of public utilities and facilities, such as sewer, gas, electrical, water systems, and streets and bridges. And my feeling is that if it were totally flooded so as to damage all these things, it wouldn't just be this house, it would be the whole neighborhood. It's okay. Any other comments you want to make before we go through these findings that are particular to the floodplain? Okay. This is what you have to decide on for the variance to be approved. 1, a showing of good and sufficient cause. Is there good and sufficient cause for us to give this variance?
Well, the house is a very stately house and has history in this town, and I think it's admirable that someone would want to bring it back to life. And although it's in the floodplain, it's been many years since there's been a flood in the area, and that was prior to when the river was moved.
Right.
Anything could happen. A flood could occur. We see these things occurring all over,
Yes.
especially this past year.
Well, and I think, too, that they are making good and sufficient efforts to take care of the problem as much as it's possible to do. Number 2, a determination that failure to grant the variance would result in exceptional hardship due to the physical characteristics of the property. I'm going to read that again. A determination that failure to grant the variance would result in exceptional hardship due to the physical characteristics of the property. Increased costs or inconvenience of meeting the requirements of these regulations does not constitute an exceptional hardship to the applicant.
Well, the key word here is exceptional hardship, which means, to me, maybe some others might be different, but like $30,000 would not be exceptional hardship.
Well, I think 30,000, you were talking about simply raising
Yeah,
the
that's the
house
2 feet.
itself.
Because that's basically, that's all they need to do. The
Okay.
rest of it, they already are taking care of it.
Okay. Number 3, a determination that the granting of a variance will not result in increased flood heights beyond that which is allowed in these regulations. Additional threats to public safety, extraordinary public expense, nuisances, fraud on or victimization of the public, or conflict with existing local laws. I don't see any evidence that there's going to be increased flood for other people from this house staying in its same position. Number 4, a determination that the structure or other development is protected by methods to minimize flood damages. I think we've heard testimony that they have done that.
Yeah, they're trying.
Number 5, a determination that the variance is the minimum necessary considering the flood hazard to afford relief. Here are a few other conditions to think about while you're
I think number
pondering.
2 is the one number 2 is the only one you
Okay.
need to clarify.
All righty. Generally, variances may be issued for new construction and substantial improvements to be erected on a lot of 1/2 acre or less in size, contiguous to and surrounded by lots with existing structures constructed below the base flood level, providing items in subsection C1 to 11 have been fully considered, and we have considered those. This lot is less than half an acre, and it is in a set of houses contiguous to and surrounded by lots that have exactly the same problem. Okay, comments or questions you'd like to make? Questions to be asked of each other? Okay, so if you're ready to vote, we'll start with Ms. Carson tonight.
I vote yes.
I vote yes.
Mr. Pelzi?
I will, no.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, and I also vote yes. So we'll drive by and see how you're doing.
I'll give you a tour. How's that? Not yet, though.
Yes, a little early. Okay. All right, so we have a second case here to consider. And this one, as I said before, is at 22 Maplewood Drive, case number 1305V. Okay. Well, Mr.
I gotta remember what it is.
Building that garage.
I
The appellant is requesting a variance from ACC 2310, Table A, Schedule of Belt Controls, to construct an accessory structure with a right side setback of 2 feet, where 7 feet is the minimum requirement, a total side yard setback of 13.75 feet, 7.5 feet, where 20 feet is the minimum requirement, and 44% lot coverage.
Are you ready?
Yes.
What's the name of the alley beside here?
Between Maplewood and
Lincoln?
Is it Lincoln?
Lincoln is between May.
The one that you want to come off with the garage? Or-
No.
No, the garage, the driveway comes off of Shannon.
Shannon, okay.
Shannon.
Okay, so what this is the house on the corner of Maplewood and Shannon, that the applicant is requesting to build a garage to the rear, that the way our code's written, when a house or a structure is built on a corner, that the side yard setback has to be 12 and a half feet, or 1/2 of the required front setback distance. So if it's 25 foot, which is what is normal or required, then it has to be half of that, it's 12 and a half feet, or the established front line of existing homes that are along that street. And in this case, they were requesting to, did you guys move it back so that it's,
We're putting it directly in line with the house. But
okay, so it is in line with the house, but by doing so, that you don't have the
Right.
side or and lot coverage. So
Right.
as was specified in the variance request.
Okay, and I understand you're also trying to line it up with the house on
That would
Sunnyside?
be on Shannon.
On Shannon.
It'll
Okay,
be in
the
line,
side of it.
actually, I guess the side of the garage will be in line with the folks at 120 Maplewood.
Okay.
So we're trying to align it with the existing non-conforming structures, and then also
Okay.
with the existing house on the lot, so.
Okay. All right. And you're right, these are very small lots in this neighborhood, and many non-conforming issues have occurred because of that. Anything else you all want to say, Mr. Pesky?
No.
Okay.
As you can see, I came from elsewhere.
Okay. So would you like to speak to us again? Again, state your name and address, and tell us about this particular problem.
My name is Matthew Cook. I'm Mr. Boger's builder, and I live at 85 South May Avenue. Mr. Boger also has a petition. Should I bring that up now?
Oh, sure. Yeah. Looks like a long one. Okay, but you didn't number it for us. Good grief.
22? 22? 21.
21? Okay. All righty.
So we're trying to build a small garage on the property. My understanding of the history is that at this exact site, there have previously been 2 non-conforming structures, neither of which exist any longer. There's actually a driveway to the place where the garage goes, but no
Right.
garage. We are attempting to non-conform as little as possible by keeping it in line with the house and with the neighbors' garages. But there's no way it can possibly be built to conform. It's a pretty small lot with a decently sized house on it already,
Yeah.
so
Exactly.
I think that's all. It's a simple
Okay.
garage, so.
Well, we have, the application with the explanations, and I think we've got some diagrams and sketches that show what it would look like, where it will sit on the lot, and how it attempts to be in line with other things. So do you all have questions?
I guess one question, when I looked at the other garages, I didn't go out and do any measurements, but I was wondering if you are aware of the size of the other garages, because they're doing an extended garage. So I understand why you would want a garage.
Right.
But if possible, if you did just the garage and not the extension on the garage, for I forget why they were doing that, for storage or something, right? I'm wondering,
I don't know about the extension on the garage.
well, if you look at
It
the
may be
picture-
slightly deeper than the garages next to it. I did not measure the neighboring
You-
garages,
you
however.
See this part over here, rather than just doing a garage, and we
Okay.
have storage
It's
stuff also.
16 by 24 is...
16 by 24 is what,
Is that a normal size or a big
It's
size?
a very standard size garage that we would normally build. It would be considered a 1.5 car garage, I believe. You couldn't put a 2-car garage door there. It wouldn't fit. So the purpose of the half is actually for the use they're intending it for, which is greenhouse and storage space. So,
Okay. A lawnmower.
yeah, anything besides the car itself, I guess, would go along that side.
Okay. Any more questions, Mr. Cook? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone want to speak in favor, in opposition, in general comment?
I'd just remind you again to mention the petition.
Yes, we do have a petition. It has 21 names on it, and the people who are on the list are either on Shannon or on Maplewood, so they are immediate neighbors who know Mr. Boger and the property. Okay, yes.
Both of the neighbors with the non-conforming garages, Troy Miller, the first number at 109 Sunnyside, and also Stacy Strauss and John Ellis at 120 Maplewood. Those are the two neighbors with the garages that would be aligned.
Yes, well, and I do remember our giving variances to properties very near yours, even on the same side of the street on Maplewood within the last 5 or 6 years. So it's not an unusual situation in that neighborhood. So are you ready to go through the findings?
Can we do a motion first?
All right, let's have one.
I move to grant a variance to the property 122 Maplewood Drive from ACC 2310, Table A, Schedule of Bulk Controls, to allow construction of an accessory structure with a right side yard setback of 2 feet, where 7 feet is the minimum requirement, a total side yard setback of 13.75 feet, where 20 feet is the minimum requirement, and 44% lot coverage, where 30% is the maximum allowed.
Second?
I second.
Thank you. So let's start with the findings. The first one is practical difficulty and undue hardship. Because of exceptional or extraordinary circumstances or conditions pertaining to a specific piece of property, a literal enforcement of the regulations will result in practical difficulty or undue hardship that is unnecessary to the achievement of public purposes.
Well, I guess one of the things that concerns me, and I think this case was proposed a year or so ago, and then they pulled it, if I'm not mistaken. Because I remember looking at this property before.
Okay.
But now what comes into view is that the lot coverage, which
Sure.
is something that, the city is trying to maintain more green space. And I know other people have been granted those, but those were under the old, the code before the lot coverage.
No.
And that lot coverage just came in this,
The 30% part that we're discussing here was always that way. The 60% of the total lot is the new part,
okay.
which would be
Okay.
driveway, sidewalks,
Yeah.
patios, et cetera.
Okay.
So the part that we're discussing here was still in existence at the forever.
Okay, okay.
Okay, when we talk about this hardship, we refer to the exceptional circumstance. So what are the specific exceptional circumstances that pertain to this property?
Lot size.
Okay, and it says that do not apply to other properties or classes or uses in the same zone, but the whole neighborhood is exceptional in the size of the lots, and this is a corner lot, which makes it a little more difficult. Preservation of equal property rights. Literal interpretation of the regulations would deprive the appellant of rights commonly enjoyed by others in the same zone in the same vicinity, while a granting of the requested variance will not confer on the applicant any special privilege that is denied to other properties in the same zone in the same vicinity.
No, the others have garages, I think.
Well, and some of these have garages
Yeah.
because we've granted them variances.
Right.
Minimum variance. The variance granted is the minimum variance required to make possible the reasonable use of the property.
To make the possible reasonable use of the property, I would say is minimal.
Yes, because
Anything less would not be the use of property.
absence of detriment. The authorizing of such variance will not be of substantial detriment to adjacent property, and people have testified that they don't think that is true, and it will not materially impair the purposes of the zoning code or the public interest.
I don't think so.
Okay? Not of a general nature. The condition or situation of the specific piece of property or the intended use for which the variance is sought is not of so general or recurrent a nature as to make reasonably practicable the formulation of a general regulation for such condition.
No.
Okay. There's nothing we can do in this neighborhood about the size of the lot. So, who would like to encourage me to ask you to vote?
I say yes.
Okay, so we'll start with Mr. Lavelle.
I vote yes.
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 And I also vote yes, so you have the variance, okay. In the meantime, has anyone read the minutes, and would you like us to approve those or not?
I think I read them.
Yeah.
What do you think of them?
I think they were great.
Well
Should
written.
we therefore approve the minutes?
I think I've moved that we approve them.
All
A
right.
second.
All right, thank you very much. Is there other business for us to consider tonight?
I move to adjourn.
Any other business?
No?
All right.
I'm ready to
I'll
go.
vote with you. We are adjourned.
Do we have any case next